Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? Woohoo! So if your phone is on, it's a good time to turn it off.
Testing, where we
Just
go,
in case
there
it
we
goes
go.
off in the middle of prayer or something.
Okay, so good morning, West Valley.
And happy 4th of July
Happy
weekend.
4th of July weekend. We have a little bit of a theme for this weekend. We're going to have the choir come up in a little while.
Yes,
We're going to
the
sing a
choir's
couple
singing
of
today.
patriotic songs. So, and my hat. So, we're going to start it off with the song "This Is the Day," and we'd like to have everybody
stand if you can.
Stand if you can. Join in. Have fun.
This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Sing that with me. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, a day to be seated, a day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and higher up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Feel the Spirit working His way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and higher up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Woo!
All right, good morning. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. It doesn't sound like I'm on. Can you guys hear me? Okay. A little bit low? Okay. So welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goings. I'm the assistant minister here. I want to welcome you here on this 4th of July weekend. Hope you guys are doing something fun. Reverend Karen is out today. She's recovering, still taking care of herself. And Reverend Tracey Harrick will be doing our talk today. So thank you, Tracey. So we come together every Sunday to remember our truth, that we're whole, perfect, and complete, just the way that we are. And we come together to celebrate the abundance of our lives and of our community and just expressing life itself. So a couple of quick announcements. Number one is the Survivor fundraiser that's going to be July the 14th. Is coming up, and we're selling tickets in the bookstore, so they're $25, and there's going to be fun games, there's going to be food. I don't think anybody's going to have to eat any grasshoppers, and we're also going to be watching a video of Reverend Karen auditioning for the Survivor, the actual Survivor show, the real show on TV. In addition to that, on the Thursday before, Reverend Karen is going to be starting her class, this thing called You. It's from 1:30 to 3:30 on Thursdays, this thing called You. So if you want to sign up for that class, the sign-up sheet is in the bookstore as well. So those are the great activities going on. You can also find out all of their information on the website, wvscsl.com. And we also have that newsletter that's going out. So if you're not receiving the newsletter, in the bookstore we have a little pink sheets that are on the desk that you can fill out a sheet and drop it in the box. And we'll make sure that you get added to the email distribution so that way you keep informed of all of the great fun things that we have going on here. So that's it for the announcements. So let's start off by saying our vision statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community honoring the many paths to God as we live the science of mind principles. And so it is. So if you just sit back, relax, open up your hearts and minds, listen to the Bradford's beautiful music, and also Reverend Tracey's wonderful message. Thank you.
So take a deep breath and release any concerns you may have as we go within.
I will make a quiet place within my heart. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my life,
And I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
I will make a quiet place.
Quiet place, sacred, filled with love, joy. The essence of all there is, all there ever has been, and all there ever will be. Right here, right now. And each of us express this essence. It shows up through us as us, individually. Yet we come together every Sunday as a whole to share, to learn, to grow. I say a word of blessing for the Bradfords and their wonderful music in our choir today, which is going to be absolutely, totally awesome. I say a word of blessing for Reverend Tracey and her awesome message today that will fill us with joy and hope, lessons that we learn and take with us as we go about our daily business. And I give thanks, knowing that this is absolutely perfect, unfolds exactly as it should. And I just release this service into the law, knowing that it's already done. And together we say, and so it is. Okay, guys, I'm doing something really weird today. No, really, I am. Well, I kind of got turned on to Michael Beckwith. I don't know if any of you know that, but he did a rap album. And I fell in love with it. So I'm going to read the words to like my most favorite song on that track. And it's really, I don't know. I wish I was a rapper because then I could do it, but I'm not. Thankfully. So, it's Michael Bernard Beckwith, Adventure in Paradise, okay? Take a breath. Take a breath right here. Take a holy breath. I'm taking an adventure. I'm taking an adventure in paradise. As we're lifted up into the spiritual domain, we begin to see a little bit differently. There's a broadcast going on. This broadcast comes from within you. There's a song singing in you. There's something within you that wants to express. There's something within you that wants to come forward. You are anointed and appointed by the Spirit as the image and likeness of divine and ultimate reality. As we hang in that domain, we bring heaven to earth. As spiritual practice, wake up and say to yourself, I'm taking an adventure in paradise. And guess what? I'm taking you with me. I'm activating my spiritual stimulus package. I'm taking an adventure in paradise. Your stimulus package begins with awareness that you're sourced and fueled and founded by a renewable resource which is within you. It never runs out. It is your essence. It is your life. Your divine spiritual stimulus package is activating the gifts of divinity within you, that you may express them beyond your wildest imagination. And joy breaks out all over. It's real source. Feel it in your bones. Take a holy breath and say to yourself, I'm taking an adventure. And guess what? I'm taking you with me. And so it is.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesties above the fruited plain. America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. I know that divine intelligence governs the destiny of the United States of America, directing the thought and the activity of all who guide its affairs. I know that success, prosperity, and happiness are the gifts of freedom and are the divine heritage of everyone in this country. On thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. God bless America.
Wow, that was beautiful. And I just want to take a quick moment to just really hold in prayer the leadership of our community, Reverend Clyde, Reverend Karen, and Sue, who's just been, she has discovered a ministerial school family, and and I just really love her, and I just want to hold, I love all of them, and I want to just to take a moment in silence just to send them love, just a few minutes of love. I wouldn't be here today, or I'm so deeply grateful. So we love you, and we honor you, and we thank you, all three of you, and everyone else that makes this community possible. All right, so today we are talking about the Great Awakening. That song was beautiful. It is a beautiful song. Everyone knows that song. And it just kind of took me back to my youth. My father was in the military, my husband, my brother, and I know that they have their own particular day, but when anyone plays that song, it just really makes me think of the people that make sacrifices to make this country what it is, and that the whole planet deserves the reading that Kathy talked about. But this week and this weekend is our country's day to celebrate that. So I honor that with a deep, abiding faith that all is well, and it is always well. Okay, so we are going to talk this morning, but first I do have my joke. So we're going to just start with a little humor. We're going to move into some fun. All right, so a woman has a heart attack, and during this she dies and meets God. She says to God, "Will I die?" she asked. He said, "No, you will live for another 40 years, 2 months, and 8 days. At that instant, she popped back alive right into her body. And she said, "Since I had a heart attack, I decided I'm going to go and live it up, and I'm going to get a facelift, a tummy tuck, a hairdo, anything that you could think of, I'm going to do it." And so this is what she did. She set about doing it. As she was walking out of the surgeon's office, she got hit by a truck. And there she was in front of God. And she said, "God, what was that?" And he said, "What? You died." And she said, "But you told me I was going to live another 40 years. "Oh," God thought for a while, "but I didn't recognize you." So that's what we are doing today. We are shifting into we want our everyday life to shift into what we would call a holy self from the ego self. And so we want our everyday life, the life that we have as a recognizable life, the life that we use our senses to live, breathe, and move and have our being in. We want this to be the thing that it should be a source of energetic discomfort. It should be the thing that doesn't, that we want to kind of move away from and turn from what I call the ego or the special self to the holy self. And so this is a great example of a great awakening and a holy union to your true self. David Hoffmeister, the Course in Miracles teacher, says that when creating a union of truth, honesty, forgiveness, and holy love, it is essential to understand the difference between a special relationship and a holy one. Now, I read that at Mark's wedding, and it was a really beautiful wedding, and it was just such an honor to do it. But that reading just kept seeping in, it just kept going deeper and deeper and deeper. And I recognized that, in our life, we meet that other person that shows us or reflects back to us the things that we need to heal or reveal or be okay with, to allow, that we use so many words for the word acceptance. So when we are in relationship with someone else, they reflect back to us the things that we need to have acceptance for so that we can trust that our life brought us to right where we need to be. And you, in being in this church, are on that path because you wouldn't be here if you weren't ready for that great awakening. And by the way, you're already awake, but again, we have to use these words because the mind likes to seep in, the ego mind, the special self likes to seep in and tell us all kinds of stories about that we need something more. You really don't. Because the mind, in all reality, and Ernest Holmes says this as well, it doesn't really exist. But, we give more attention to the special self than we do to the holy self. And as we turn that barometer north a little bit and sit in the stillness and the silence, the holy self becomes our recognizable self, and the ego self is where we find a great amount of discomfort. But right now, we might be looking for discomfort in the looking for comfort in the world and trying to rearrange the pieces of our lives. And what we begin to discover is that the world is impermanent. People die, things happen. Sometimes they're very lovely and good, and sometimes they're very sorrowful, and it creates a lot of suffering. And this is the nature of life. It is the nature of the thing that we call mind. And our holy self is always permanent. It is always here, it has always been here, and it will always be here. And so I don't really know the science of, I love that we have science of mind. Science is Sue's job. I love that. That's her brain. And she inspires me to have my airy-fairy brain. I just like the result. I don't really like to think about much what happens in your brain as these changes take place. But I can tell you from having a great amount of teachers, because I'm very stubborn, so God gave me a lot of teachers. And I really wanted to talk a little bit about, first, the special self, so that it becomes so recognizable to you that becomes the identity in which you present to the world. And it is okay if we are not currently doing that, because that is the nature of transcendence. We have our lives and we move and bump into things to get us to turn around and go back home, much like the prodigal son, right? That we have to turn around and go back home. And, these are, again, these words, they're so descriptive and they will mean something different to each one of you. But the idea is that you are already, that's a mouthful, you are already all that you are, all that you will ever be. You are already the special self. But because the mind is at play here, we really need to look at some characteristics that help us shape the special self into more of our daily life. So the special self is a relationship that we rely on, right? So when we are in our special self, we want other people. It says, when I get that, I will be. So the special self says, when I get that, I will be. When I get that job, when I get that love, when I get that house. And having these things, I'm not saying that you shouldn't desire to have all of these things. You should. It is the nature of life. Desire is God's creative power. But when we rely on these things to make us happy, and then they go away, what happens? My teacher used to say, Reby used to say, Tracey, you won the lottery and you got $1 million. You're happy, you can help your family, and then you go to the store and find out the ticket isn't real. You are right back where you started from. So your happiness isn't derived from something outside of you. Your happiness is all that is within you. And we want this to be our recognizable source in our everyday life. You become magnetic when you move to the holy self. All objective things, as I said, come and go. They are impermanent in nature. When we sit in our special self, the ego self, it really does go something like this. We care about what people think about us. We go about trying to change their mind about us. We become and start to live inauthentic lives. We do things that we really don't agree to because we don't know how to say no. We judge ourselves immensely for not being able to do those things. We do jobs that we don't want. And we start to believe that we have the power to mold the clay instead of stepping back and sitting in our own power. Because when we do that, when we sit in our own power of the holy self, then the world comes to you. And this is very hard for the nature of the mind to understand, because the mind was built for dispute. The mind was built for defensiveness. The mind was built for protection. And fear is its friend. Now, fear is a really interesting thing, because it was described to me as by my teacher. I was like, I just don't want to be afraid anymore. And he's like, well, let's talk about fear, Tracey. There are two kinds of fear. There's the fear where the dinosaur is chasing you and you're running. That's a good fear. If you were in a grocery store and somebody came in and was doing things that were not nice, you are going to use your fear to hide, to run, to seek shelter. But the fear that we're talking about today is the fear of the mind that prevents us from living a holy self life. A fear that says, I am not good enough, that I need you to like me, that I should do things to make money. And again, all of these things, we all have our different ways of doing it. My personal favorite was, self-abuse. I could really beat myself up and hide. And when I recognized the difference between the two, and I started to sit in silence, and then the stillness came, the recognition came that all that I am is all that you are. And there really isn't you and me. There is only the one, which is this. And we live like it's this. So when you are in frame, you cannot see out of frame. So there must be another to look out of frame to help you. And the ego gets bruised very easily even when we're seeking guidance. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation, a class where you're there to learn and grow, and the teacher says something lovely to you, and then you decide, I'm not going back to that class. That teacher doesn't know what they're talking about. I am not doing it. And we put our foot down and we stomp and we scream. This is the special self. You'll always know when it shows up. There's resistance, there's blame, there's shame, there's fear, there's guilt. And what we need to begin to recognize is the gift that other person is bringing to us. And I'm not saying that you have to go home and be best friends with them, because that would be fake. That is another trick of the special self. It's trying to endear itself to someone instead of asking, what gift is this bringing me so that I can look within? And I have many life circumstances, and recently have been having many conversations with people where I would say the Holy Self is showing up and listening to their heart, listening in a broader, more wonderful way where the person feels heard. And then there's no defensiveness in that conversation. I had a beautiful conversation with my mother, and we talked about a lot of things that have happened in my life that I blamed her for. And what was so wonderful about this conversation, I even recognized it when we were having it. I was like, this is going differently. My mom was opening up like she had never opened up before. And she was sharing things that I thought, I can actually hear her pain in this particular scenario. And we really enjoyed ourselves. We sat on the patio, and then a couple days later, I called my mom and I said, hey, what did you think about that conversation that we had? And she goes, man, that was the best conversation I've ever had with you. And I said, there was something there that wasn't present there. And my mother said, yes, Tracey, love was there. I didn't feel like you were judging me. I didn't feel like you were blaming me anymore. I didn't feel like I had to defend myself. So then I got to share with you what was really on my mind. And I realized that my holy self showed up to that conversation, and that my mom felt it. And I have had several other conversations like that lately, and it always surprises me. It gives me goosebumps when I talk about it, because I've never had those kind of conversations before from the holy self. They were always from Tracey, the ego self, the special self, that needed to convince or connive or move, or I just wanted it to be so that I would be comfortable. So that this is what the special self does. The special self is me. It looks at me. What do I want? What do I need? It is divisive. It is not inclusive. But by contrast, the holy self does not bring emptiness or lack or need. It brings a sense of wholeness and fulfillment, an internal invalidation, an inner contentment. So I said to my mom, I go, well, now that we like each other, you could come to coffee more. And my mom was like, I would love to come to coffee more. And I truly meant that because, we love our parents and we love our family and we love our friends. And I'm not saying that all my relationships are wonderful right now. I mean, they're all wonderful, but they're not all as I would like them to be. So as they come up, I am spending more time looking at my part in that relationship. And sometimes I can still put my feet down and really push and not, sometimes it's hard. It's very difficult to get out of the habit of the special self. That's all it is a habit. It is hard to move in the holy self when the mind is doing it. It is hard to move into the holy self when the mind thinks that it has to do something to be something that you already are. You are already that. You don't need to do anything other than turn your attention 20 degrees north and just sit there and wait for God to move in your life, and He will move in your life. But you have to be a willing participant. We have to, with our own free will, be willing to look at our part in everything that we do. The most minute detail of our lives can bring suffering. And yes, there are not nice people in the world, but we're not talking about nice. We're talking about self-reflection and going inward and having the great awakening from the ego self to the holy self. So by contrast, the holy self, again, does not bring emptiness. It is already whole. It is already fulfilled. A holy relationship, the one you have with yourself, it is the exact opposite of I need this to feel whole. It is a recognition of holiness. It is a recognition of the holiness within you, an understanding of the highest teaching that there is only one. A holy relationship with yourself enhances your life. It brings those people closer to you or allows you to release them and let them go. I've had to release a few relationships recently, and it has not been easy because I want them to love me. But in that desire to want them to love me is my special self saying to them, like me, like me, like me, instead of this is your life, you get to do what you want, go be free and do it. And if our paths cross again, I will be more than willing to sit down with you and listen. But in the meantime, do you, boo. We all heard that, right? We know who that comes from, Reverend Cheryl. But this is the truth, right? I've had to let go, and I've had to let go of a really important relationship. And it really has helped me to see that, one, I survived it, two, it's possible, and three, it's the most loving thing that you can do. Right? A holy relationship with yourself enhances your life. You become magnetic. You attract back to you all that you are. You attract it when you need it. It's a creative source. It's life-supporting vibration. It is noticeable because you are not coming from need, but from wholeness. You are coming from an overflow of joy. In the holy self, we ask, how can I? Not what do I need? You enjoy yourself and the support that comes to you. You co-create, which is a different energy than the special ego. The special ego says, I can do it. I watch my little toddler, Luke, and man, he is determined, right? And so recently he has preferred Papa over Nana, right? I'm like, come see Nana. No. Come on. Nana, will you book? No. Papa. When I go in to get him in the morning, he looks at me. No. Luke want Papa. And I'm like, Tracey, the ego self, is like, my baby doesn't love me anymore. And I'm telling you, I had to look up on YouTube toddler preferences to decide whether I was going to be personally hurt if the toddler didn't prefer me. And the first thing he said was, if you're looking up this video, you should not take it personally. Toddlers just are themselves. They just want what they want. They have no conditioning. They have nothing that is remotely anything to do with you, Tracey, the special self. And so once I got that, once I had to look that video up and had this recognition, which is kind of silly, right? It sounds silly, but this is what the personal self does. And then I went to my husband and I go, you know what? That's fine. You should do this. Now, what's funny about this is Papa's Papa does the morning, the night, the books. And I realized, oh, there is a sweet gift in this. I get to watch it. And when the kids were growing up, he was away at the military, worked 3 jobs to make our lives better, and he was gone a lot. So not only does this bring him a great amount of joy, but it brings me a great amount of joy. Why do I want that work? I get to look and watch and have fun with it. But once I let it go, Luke, it was a miraculous thing. These are the things of miracle, right? And then my son came over and I was like, and he was like, go see Nana. And he was like, no. And my son was funny. We just have a big laugh about this because, rarely do you get a second chance to raise a kid. But, because we've raised our 4. But all that you learn from a toddler is a spiritual awakening in itself. I think there should be a book, What You Learn from a Toddler About Yourself. But the Holy Self must show up in relationship to this toddler, because they are just amazing little creatures of habit. And you really do recognize your special self when you have to get up at 4 a.m. because someone's in the crib going, Nana, Nana, Baba, blanket, bird, dog. And then we go to get him out of the crib, and it's like, Ba, Burr, which is his blanket, dog, other Burr, and he wants everything picked up and carried. And we go to the room and we put him down, and then he looks at me and he goes, not you. And he wants Papa. And I'm like, I just did all the work and you want Papa. And see, these are the things. These are the moments where you recognize your special self, which, by the way, the special self is beautiful. I have learned that the ego is not something to be gotten rid of. It doesn't really exist anyway. It's just our habits. It's really our yoga karma. It's what we've done in the past. It's what we project into the future. And it really isn't happening right now. And what's beautiful is that you get to see, if you really look, the things that you, like my toddler, has misperceived about life. Right? Or maybe he sees reality and I'm misperceiving it. But what I'm saying is there's a toddler inside of you running your life. Right? There is a toddler inside of you running your life. And does that toddler, make great decisions all the time? You will meet your toddler when you come into disagreement with someone, mainly yourself, but with that other loved one that shows up with you. So, give yourself a break and recognize that Holy Union is all about shifting vision. It's not about changing another. It's not even about changing you. It's about changing your direction, your attention, your mental attitude. It's about changing your attitude towards life. And your attitude towards life cannot change unless you look at your core beliefs. And your core beliefs cannot be shown unless you do the work to look at them and find someone you trust to reflect back to you. And it doesn't have to be in relationship to someone like a love relationship. It can be a friend. Fish and I reflect back to each other all the time. I have special relationships with everybody. And our new joke is, man, you're not being very loving to yourself right now. When she makes me mad, I just look at her and I go, you're not being very loving to yourself right now. Because our joke is really, if you're reaching or lashing out to someone, you're really lashing out to yourself. And so this is our little cue to one another to go, you could be quiet now. Right? And we just find our way, like we do with our best friends. We find our way through. We find our way through the special self till the holy self shows up. And then you can say, I honor you. I honor you for having the courage of telling me something that is your preference. I honor you for letting me know that I hurt your feelings. I honor you for letting me know that there's something that you'd like for me to change to make you happy, but I can't. So you can go, or you can stay, or we can work it out. Right? And we have chosen to stay and work it out. As well as my husband. We've been married for almost 40 years. Yeah. So that's a whole nother talk. We won't do there. But just accepting yourself in that holy union, it's beautiful. So in the Course of Miracles, you are absolutely whole, lovable, powerful, and attractive just as you are. We drop that sense of I love myself. We drop into the sense of I love myself just as I am. You are so radiantly beautiful, and you draw someone unto you that recognizes the beauty that you are. By creating this holy relationship with yourself, you are now in holy union with yourself, and then your natural self, your magnetic self, shines forth. In this holy union, I wish you all the love your heart desires, all the love you seek, and all the love you deserve from the inside out. In closing, Ernest Holmes says, the atmosphere of home should never be clouded with uncertainties of the outside world. Here, in this place of human love, all else should be forgotten and an atmosphere maintained which will be a shelter from the world. Here, love should be the ruling passion and harmony should reign supreme. Here, above all other places, the kingdom of God should reign supreme because you are the kingdom of God. And so it is. Oh, I guess we're going to seat that in prayer. I just let this talk stand as an external validation of the divine love of the universe. That these words have come and were given to and seat and land in the heart of everyone here. Just knowing that the perfection of the divine spirit, the Holy Self, being in our natural state, emanates from us, from the heart. We move from the head to the heart to the whole in the recognition of this beauty that life is perfect just the way it is. I recognize and I celebrate all that make this church, this community, the beacon of light for those who wish to seek that self out until they come to the recognition that they are that self, that this is what Ernest Holmes wanted. He wanted the internal freedom and independence, which is a great thing that our country stands for, that we became liberated, and we became independent, and it stands as some outward symbolic gesture of the independence and the liberation and the great awakening of the self. That only you can do that. No one can walk that path for you. No one can read that book for you. But what you can do is honor the calling of the heart, and that this talk seats that seed into your mind and it transfers to your heart, and the transformation of love and beauty and joy is overflowing. God is so good. Life is so good, and Spirit is so amazing. I love you. I bow to you. And I know that you are perfect just as you are, and so it is.
Grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful. Grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see is love reflected shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
Right, we are grateful that Tracey showed up today. So thank you, Tracey. Thank you very much. Just a quick reminder, we have a Dining with the Dudes next Friday, so we usually fill the house next Sunday with the Dining with the Dudes. And we have a special celebration with our chorus right afterwards. It's after this next song, so we want to honor that as well. And I think... then there was one other announcement, but I can't remember what it is, but that's okay. So it is now the time to celebrate the abundance of our life and the abundance of our community. So let's say our giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
So I'd like to welcome the choir up.
You guys ready?
Now remember, what I was going to say is that in the mornings, every morning now, I don't know, it's either CBS or ABC, they sing the God Bless America song every morning now. And I didn't know that, and I don't know if it's new or something, but when I heard it for the first time, it really touched me. And so I look forward to it now every morning to hear that song. So that's what I wanted to say. So, all right, so we are we're going to have our closing song now. If Rod will get ready. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a joke. They just got a new dog. And
Golden Doodle.
Golden Doodle, and they're looking for suggestions for names.
Something that means strong and gentle.
Okay. Well, you can see us afterward in the Papke Hall, please. I don't need it.
Please rise for our last song. About my problems, I'm living now, I'm living now, and I ain't gonna worry about the future, I'm living now, I'm living now, so put your hands up if you feel like having a good time, put your hands up if you're sharing love with all, raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. One more time. Oh, it feels so good to be alive.
All right. And then, so if you want prayer after service, we have call to prayer right up here in the front, so you can come right up and pray with the practitioner. So let's say our closing affirmation together. So just repeat after me. I live from my holy self. Allow all my joy, love, and happiness come from within.
Joy, love, and happiness come from within.
And so it is.